My name is Cheliss Rice. I'm a liver recipient. I had my transplant 2013, May 30th. Dr. Bernard actually was one of my, I said, did he remember me? He was like, yeah, I have a transplant. He got a good memory. So I always remember when I was in the hospital room, he would come in and when you're on the bed, I'm decently tall, but he's taller than I am. So, but he came in, hey, I mean, he got this voice, right? So I was like, when he came, I said, I've seen that guy. When I heard him talk, I said, I know exactly who that is. But thank you. Thank you again, sir. Thank you for your services. And I think it was Dr. Modan Liu. I was asking him about, transplant. He's like, oh man, I can do these in the dark. I'm like, well, I hope the power don't go out. I don't want to find out. But the things that I told myself I want to see one of these, live, one day. But my story is, I got, it was New Year's Day, January 2013. I went to my cousin's house to, grab something to eat. His girlfriend had cooked, and the next day I got just sick. And I was like, oh my gosh, she can't cook. So I'm like, okay. It started snowing that day. And I went to the emergency room. The doctors came in. They were like, hey, yeah, you did get food poisoning. I'm like, yeah, I knew my stomach was hurting this bad for nothing. They're like, yeah, but you have stage 5 liver failure. You have a year to live. I'm like, what? I'm like, I didn't come here for that. And so they said, yeah, you got a year to live. And I just like, so it took me back a little bit. So I cried about 3 minutes, and then I just wiped my face. I'm like, ain't nothing to cry about no more, because I know what I'm dealing with. The problem is never a problem. It's just that you know what you're dealing with, then that's how, basically, you know how to go forward with it. So I started going back and forth to the doctors and things like that, and I went in the hospital April 15th. I went back to St. Francis, and they were like, there's really nothing we can do for you here, so we're going to see where the big boys at. So they sent me to Methodist University. And the transition that St. Francis did, the care they did give for that day or two, it was pretty unmatched. I mean, it was very unmatched. I call my surgical team, I call them the dream team, because after I had my surgery, they split them up. Dr. Modan Liu went here, Dr. Yu went to Colorado, I think. Where did you go? He went to Florida, so they just split everybody up. So it's like this, I call it the dream team. When you win that championship, and after everybody becomes superstars, they just kind of disbanded them. But I went in the hospital, and I spent I think roughly probably 45 days in ICU, and every day, I mean, my ammonia levels were super high, things like that. I was seeing all kind of this, that, and the other, outbreaks, outrages, all kind of outbursts and things like that you have no control over. But, one thing I did have that I didn't lose my faith. So at all times, I always had my faith, but I knew I was going to make it out. It was just a matter of when. And I just remember one day, I don't know if it was you or not, Doc, now thinking about it, but they gave me 2 days to live. They came in and said, call the family, there's nothing we're going to be able to do. He's not going to make it out the weekend. And I remember Monday when I woke up, my mother was like, she was like glad. She was just like she had just saw me for the first time or something. And she was like, they gave up. I'm like, who gave up on where? And I was like, I'm not finna go nowhere, and I still had my fight. I still had, my attitude. I still had the grit and the grind. And I don't know what doctor it was, but I told him to go get him. So he came back in. I just told him, I'm not finna go nowhere. I don't know what, And when they came and told me, they did like they called the chaplain. They came in one time and told me, it don't look good. And I just said, I respect what you're saying, but I'm not finna go nowhere. You can get out the room, So, but and that's just how my attitude was. I had a lot to live for, so I had a lot of fight in me. But I did receive my transplant on. I remember it was a Thursday. I think it was a Thursday when the nurses they came in. They were burst in the room and like they startled me, woke me up, and they were like, we found a match. I'm like, really? They're like, yeah. I'm like, oh, wow, okay. I thought they had it out in the hall. I don't know. I mean, so, and they were saying that, you're gonna get your surgery. So I was like, okay. So I remember asking the doctor, okay, we're gonna start it out, right? We're gonna start the first of the week and we're gonna do it. They're like, no, tomorrow. I'm like, tomorrow? So it was absolutely the next day or whatever. So I remember getting on the elevator on the stretcher, that was it. I don't remember anything else. I mean, several days later, after being on the ventilator and things like that, I came to, and then I started having some kidney issues right directly after that. I had retained so much fluid, so they had to, put me on dialysis for a few days and things like that. And I finally, I remember Doc was coming in and he was like, hey, you want to sit up? I'm like, yeah, I guess. And so they would sit you up, get me in the chair. Get me in the chair. So the whole process it's a total process. It's a step-by-step, situation. So I was thinking for a minute that, okay, I got the new liver. Instantly, I'm supposed to feel better. But it's a process of, feeling better. So I eventually went to the floor. I remember my room vividly. I think it was 713. Then I went to 1006 in Methodist. And when I got to the floor, I was just determined, because during that course, I did have a dream and saw myself at my funeral with everything I said I was going to wear on. So I was sitting on the second row in this dream I had, and I'm like, well, that's it for sleep. I ain't going back to sleep no more, because I don't, I did not want to see that again. But of course, I did go to sleep. Prayed God for peace in those dreams. But I had to learn how to walk again. So I got back to the floor. They was telling me, you're gonna have to go, the health side. You're gonna have to go to rehab. And I was like, I'm not gonna have to go to rehab. And my mom like, why do you think you so? I said, because, my name is Cheliss. I'm different. I ain't got to do what everybody else do, and that's just how my attitude was. I had just a determination to fight. So I was asking the doctors and things, hey, what do I got to do? Because I want to go home. I miss my dog. I ate enough of y'all nutrition. I'm cool. I'm ready. Hospital food is not the best. I remember Dr. Hughes, they were like, you got to eat. What do you want to eat? I said, I probably could eat some Jack Purtle's chicken. I might could eat that. And I just remember that Saturday, she said, I didn't get Jack Purtle's, I brought you Gus. I'm like, that'll work. And I had Broadway pieces. They was get anything, because I just could not eat. When you, if you've been through this process, the medication and the anesthesia, your appetite is, gone and things like that. So the PTs actually bring me some stretch bands and things like that. And I just started working out in the bed. I just started working out in the bed, doing curls. I just started practicing, transferring myself from the bed to the chair with the walker, going around the room. And the doctor said, you got to be able to do this before you go home. And I just remember that weekend, I'm like, okay, well, this weekend, for these next 3 days, I'm just going to work out, the best I can on the walker with these stretch bands. And I would just transfer myself, walk around the room, walk to the nurse station, come back. I would do this like 5 times, come in, 45-minute, hour nap, get back up and do it again. So I remember that Monday when the doctors came in, I just was like, hey, don't come in, just watch me. And I did my little routine and go down the hall, come back and everything. And they were like, where you been? I was like, they told me I can go home, so I'm like, I got to do what I got to do. And the good thing about how the body is made, the body is just have, memorization. Your hands are never talk. They're not made to talk. They're made to grab. Your arms are made to swing, and they would not, kick. The body has muscle memory, and your body will remember, exactly, what to do. And they was like, okay, you can go home in 2 days, basically. So I was just glad of that. And the rehab process of that, I got home, I'm like, okay, you got to rehab yourself. They sent the PT to the house. They wasn't doing anything. I was like, okay, I'm going to do it myself. I called a friend over, and I would just get in the floor and, start with basic little push-ups and things like that. I never knew that Boost and Insure was what it was. I mean, thank God for Boost and Insure, because it'll give you that protein, you probably start a car with it, I don't know. But it got everything in it that you kind of need. And so all these things that I was doing, and then one day I said, I'm finna go driver. I said, I'm a driver. I told my mom I was gonna drive myself to labs, come do my labs. And so I actually got the walker, got in the car, and drove myself. I was just like, okay, I'm coming back. Because my main thing was that, am I gonna be normal? That's the main thing. We used to normalcy. We always lived a normal life. Am I going to be, I had to get over the fact of, I got this scar. So I had to mentally get over that fact. Okay, you got this big old scar. You never had this scar. They cut your abs in half. You're not going to have them anymore. And, they're like, you always have a pudge. I'm like, oh God. I'm like, but I just turned that scar to a smile. It's an upside down smile. That's how I kind of look at it now, and the scar, is like, hey, this was the bridge. It's kind of like a little railroad track. I'm like, okay, this is the track that I had to go to live. And so that's just how I kind of look at it. And so I remember going back and doing labs at the hospital, and I was just telling the doctor, I was like, they told me who it was, Doctor, I can't think of his name, but anyway, I just remember when they told me I had, 2 days to live, and I just told them, I look pretty good for a dead guy, so I'm still on day one. It'll be 11 years, May 30th, that I had my transplant, and I haven't had one issue, and I had started volunteering, some spare time at Methodist University to talk to, they had my number up, like, hey, I got a patient, a family needs to talk to somebody about, what is it like, what I need to do. I'm like, hey, feel free to call me. So I wasn't at the hospital a year, and people that have a transplant, I go up there and just talk to them and tell them exactly what to do. This is what you're going to experience, because I wanted to talk to somebody. And so, Dr. Modan Lou was like, this is going to happen, this is going to happen. I'm like, did you have a transplant? He's like, nah. I'm like, well, you really just don't really know, how I'm mentally feel. Don't worry about it. He was just so cool about it. But like, patients need that, someone to talk to. Like, I came home and I was eating, maybe they had I tried to reach out to get to the family, but they didn't respond back. But, I had a craving for barbecue corn chips and Oreo cookies. I'm like, and hot tamale candies. I'm like, this was a young kid or somebody. I'm like, because I'd never been on this kind of kick or whatever. But the fact that, it's just miraculous that a person would pass, that God would touch their heart to sign this donor list, and that person gonna live for this point, because there's gonna be a point when you're gonna meet, when you're gonna need what that person have, and how God connect, and that person is an exact match, for that. I can deal with the Oreo cookies and the, corn chips every now and then, but the fact that the praises and things like that the nursing staff and the doctors do, that's nothing but miraculous, that in itself. But for those who, my doctor was telling me, so what do you do every day? I mean, one of the good things, this is a nutrition tip I did that I found out that actually works. Ginger, lemon, apples, I juice every day. So those things keep your numbers perfect, and so if you got a juicer, get you some ginger root, apples, lemons, drink you a glass of that every day. It'll do wonders for your numbers. And, like they say, the doctors don't know 100% all or whatever, but I found out, the numbers in the blood work is going to tell the truth. It's going to tell whatever it is and things like that. And my family, we're definitely, thankful, for the gift of life. I do not abuse my body. I do not abuse my liver. I do not, go out of the way and do nothing extra, get my rest, drink plenty of water, just do the right thing. And I work in the insurance business, and one problem that I did found out was that post-transplant, most insurance carriers would not insure you. The maximum they probably give you is $25,000 of life insurance. So I'm actually working on a project I'm building an insurance product out, hopefully come to market for the year out, that transplant patients can get insurance up to $150,000, because that's one of the things that's not on the market, that is not even offered through no insurance company. So that way, so those of us that have had transplant, we can get regular insurance. Because those things will be on your MIB report that you're taking anti-rejection meds and things like that. So thank you all for your time and everything.